I like about you, Shrek? You got that kind of, I don't care what nobody thinks of me thing. I like that. I respect that, Shrek. You all right. Woo, look at that.
It seems like Shrek is as popular today as it was when it was released 20 years ago. It still inspires memes, reverence, and joy. Also, some really interesting things. Shrek has always been a childhood favorite of mine, and I can't help but return to it often. And every time I do, my appreciation for it grows. Yet, I frequently hear people mock Shrek. It's just an okay film that's been overhyped over the years. But clearly, I'm not the only one who continues to love it. To affect this many people, 20 years after its release, it has to be doing something right. So today, I'm going to examine how Shrek is held up by being so different than all the other family-friendly films that have come out since its release. I want to get the obvious reasons out of the way first. The soundtrack is legendary, the animation is beautiful, and the humor still works. All of these factors help explain why the film has continued to impress, but it doesn't explain the rabid emotional attachment that the film receives. After all, this movie is like an onion.
Ogres are like onions.
They stink?
Yes. No.
It's common knowledge at this point that Shrek was made as an FU to Disney, so I'm just going to cover the basics. Shrek producer and DreamWorks co-founder Jeffrey Katzenberg left Disney feeling bitter at the mouse and wanted to make a movie that made fun of Disney's superficial stories. Stories that rely on creating perfect versions of the world that can only exist if you push all imperfections to the side.
Welcome to Duloc, such a perfect town. Here we have some rules, let us lay them down. Don't make waves, stay in line, and we'll get along fine. Duloc is a perfect place.
So DreamWorks' first film was made through this anti-Disney lens. Its central characters are a rude, ugly ogre, an annoying talking donkey, and a princess that acts nothing like a princess. It's these characters that make Shrek work. They are the emotional center of the film and the main reason that audiences still love the movie to this day. When the story begins, we meet Shrek. Shrek is a guy living the life you'd expect from an ogre. He's intimidating, he lives in a swamp, he's gross, but most of all, he's alone. However, he still thinks that he's content in life because he's based his self-image on how the outside world perceives him. That's why when he meets Donkey, he's so quick to push him away. Donkey doesn't see Shrek the way the rest of the world does. So if Shrek were to get too close to Donkey, his carefully crafted facade would fall apart and he'd realize that he's not happy in his life. But Donkey doesn't let Shrek push him away, because in a lot of ways, they're alike. He's an outcast and he doesn't have anyone else in his life.
'Cause I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me.
When we meet Fiona, she's in a similar spot to Shrek. She's all alone, pretending to be someone that she's not. In her case, she's pretending to be the perfect princess, ready to live a high society life. She isn't what her culture deems to be a perfect princess at all, though. And not just because she turns into an ogre at night. It's because her personality resembles that of an ogre far more than that of a princess. Yet, she knows that she's supposed to be a well-mannered damsel ready to be swept off her feet. So that's what she becomes. When she meets Shrek, she even speaks with a fake dialect to keep up the facade.
Thy deed is great, and thine heart is pure. I am eternally in your debt.
From an emotional perspective, Shrek and Fiona are brought forward in the story by Donkey. For a main character to work, they almost always have to go through major change or be the catalyst for change within other characters. Donkey falls into the latter category. Unlike Shrek and Fiona, Donkey starts the story with no illusions about himself. He knows that he doesn't fit in, and he's okay with that. He sees no point in pretending to be something that he's not. He pushes Shrek and Fiona to embrace who they are, and only once they do that can they embrace each other and be happy. Donkey's persistent influence pays off as Shrek is ready to confess his feelings for Fiona, and Fiona for Shrek. You know what? Pause. I'm supposed to be talking about how Shrek has managed to stay relevant throughout the years by bringing something unique to family-oriented storytelling. But everyone who watches Shrek understands the message. It's not exactly hidden. It's a movie that encourages people to be who they are. And for all this talk of Shrek being so different from Disney, that's actually a message that we've heard a lot from them in recent years. Just look at two recent Disney films that are awesome in their own right: Frozen and Moana. Each movie is in large part about finding the part of you that may be different from those around you and using that to find inner strength and happiness. Which doesn't sound too different from Shrek. Over the years, Disney's learned that portraying characters with different backgrounds that are ultimately accepted for being who they are is a perfect way to connect with modern audiences. But there's still a major difference between Disney and Shrek. Just as Katzenberg pointed out, Disney can't help but make things perfect. Yes, Moana and Elsa and the average Disney character has flaws, but they start so above the average person that it almost doesn't matter. These characters are beautiful, smart, kind, brave, passionate. Honestly, I can just list adjectives forever because these sometimes literal superheroes are just perfect. They may have struggles and go on journeys of self-discovery, but they start so much better than the average person that it just doesn't matter. And with Disney owning almost all modern family-friendly content, and other studios simply trying to mimic Disney, most stories we get these days features this type of character. And as much as we love Moana, and we see parts of ourselves in her, we know she's an idealized version of reality, something to strive for but never quite achieve. Disney's characters represent something bigger than ourselves. Okay, back to Shrek. So now that the gang has parted ways, we get some scenes that may or may not have made me cry until I was in college, and it's once again up to Donkey to talk some sense into Shrek. He convinces him to find Fiona and tell her how he feels. So we're finally at a place in the story where Shrek and Fiona are willing to accept who they are and what they want. Shrek makes it to the wedding, and when he finally tells Fiona how he feels, she does the same. And with some help from Donkey and the Dragon, Shrek and Fiona defeat Farquaad and share true love's kiss.
Fiona?
And of course, Fiona's true form is revealed to be that of an ogre, furthering the movie's themes about staying true to yourself.
But I don't understand. I'm supposed to be beautiful.
But you are beautiful.
But there's something else that's crucial to note here. Shrek, Donkey, and Fiona didn't defeat any monsters or save any lives or villages. They just saved themselves. Farquaad didn't have some master plan in the works to become more powerful or evil. He was really just going for a title change. Shrek isn't telling its audience that if you stay true to yourself, you can do anything. They're saying if you do, you can be happy. And that's a lot more achievable. Those of us watching Shrek are never going to save the world. But we can find a group of lovable weirdos and be happy together. That's what makes Shrek so different from other movies, and that's why it's so emotionally resonant to this day. You can truly see yourselves in these characters. As Shrek, Fiona, and Donkey bond together, they do it in their own way. They don't care what's normal. They show that being different can be more fun. According to Shrek, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to find people like you, and you can be happy. Is there any wonder why people still love this movie?
Monster and me. We go